All right, welcome. I am Nazzy from the Pulse of New Hampshire. Welcome to the Concord Co-op Community Connections. We have got a wonderful, wonderful panel joining us today. As always, the man, the legend, Greg Lessard. He is here from the Concord Co-op. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. Good morning.
And our guest today, we've got Ali Destefano. She's the owner of Calmer Kids, a local teacher, yoga instructor, and health coach. She does a lot of stuff. She provides yoga and meditation services for kids, teachers, and caregivers to support big emotions and busy lifestyles, which is very important, especially these days. For more info, you can contact Calmer Kids NH 603-568-2763. We've also got Dr. Otto. Good morning, Dr. Otto. How are you?
Good morning. Good, thanks.
She is I'm gonna mess this up. A naturopathic doctor. Did I say it right?
You did.
For practicing all day. Also, certified functional medicine practitioner. Practice is located at Whole Health Concord, North State Street in Concord.
What's that? Update that bio. We moved. We're at 7 Broadway in Concord.
So let me rewind that. She's at 7 Broadway in Concord, but still the method, the method is still the same. She specializes in getting to the root cause of illness and reducing dependency on medications and surgery. And you can contact her through the website, which is always correct, naturalmedicinenh.com. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. Thank you, Nazzy.
Yep. And today, a very, very important subject, and I think it's even more important now because of the pandemic and what everybody's going through. We're going to be talking about heart health. So let's get right into it. The heart muscle or cardiac muscle. I'm gonna mess this up. I know one of you are going to correct me. It's called the myocardium. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Trying really hard. So ladies, whoever wants to start this, why is it so very, very important to take as much care of our heart as we do the rest of our body? Let's start with Ali. Why is it so important with the heart?
Oh God, well, I don't have doctor credentials, but taking care of our heart, it helps fuel every other part of our body. If we're getting good blood flow, good circulation, we're taking care of our veins, our arteries, we're able to pump what needs to be pumped throughout our entire body. Overall, we're going to function much better naturally, but feel better too. But there are so many different ways that we can do that. And, with our lives being a little more sedentary, I would say nowadays because of the pandemic, it's especially important for us to think about how our heart is functioning and what we're doing to keep it healthy. But Dr. Otto, you take this one because you've got the credentials to speak more to the heart.
Although Ali, that was you might not be a doctor, but that was a really good answer. So.
You know what, Nazzy, I went with my heart on that one.
Very good.
I was gonna make some kind of pun in a similar vein. But I think that's a perfect description, right? The heart is sort of, and the circulatory system in general is quite kind of the connector to everything in your body. But that's the one thing that I would highlight that I think gets forgotten about when people talk about heart health. We kind of generally say, oh, the heart, and that kind of makes our brains think about the literal, just that heart organ that sits in our chest, which is a very important organ. But what we're really talking about is the entire vascular system that supplies the heart and that the heart supplies. So when we're talking about heart disease, we're usually talking about actually cardiovascular disease, which encompasses not just the heart itself, but the network of vessels that moves blood to and from everywhere else. So crucial.
And so what are the heart health tips, and are they the same tips where you're being proactive, or if you are starting to have heart health issues, are you doing something different?
So I think one of the things about heart health that makes it the hardest for people to work on heart health prevention or addressing acute disease or active disease rather, is that you don't usually feel heart disease until it becomes the explosion, until it becomes a heart attack, until it becomes a stroke. And by that point, the disease has already been developing for decades. So prevention is the word that we use, but really we're talking about early intervention a lot of the time, because by the time we're middle-aged, when we start talking to our doctors about heart health or cardiovascular health, we've already probably have plaque formation. We already have some tissue damage to the vessels, to potentially the heart muscle. And by that point, we're technically not preventing, we're actually addressing a problem that we just simply can't feel, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about tips for heart health, you know, we are actually intervening on an active level when we're preventing cardiovascular disease, or when we're preventing a heart attack or stroke. And those methods are generally encompass nutrition and exercise first and foremost. Cardiovascular disease is, more than any other condition I can think of, a true lifestyle mediated disease.
And that's where Ali comes in. That's where your profession comes in, of the exercises and the basic lifestyle change with yoga. What are some techniques that you use when you're teaching, Ali?
Well, when it comes to yoga, I could talk all day about the benefits of yoga and how they far exceed, you know, what we typically think of. But when it comes to heart health, really, just like what Dr. Otto was saying, yeah, we have nutrition, we have fitness. But when it comes to yoga, it's not just all about the poses, asana. It's more about being present in the moment, regulating our breathing, and kind of having it be an all-encapsulating experience. But if we're regulating our breathing, we're learning how to move our body, control our breath, we can then transfer those skills to everyday life. It becomes a normal way of living. We're pausing more. We're being more mindful about our breath. We're using strategies to calm ourselves down and alleviate our stress or lessen our stress. Because, you know, our heart, our brain, our bodies can't be in this heightened state of stress all the time. And so yoga teaches us a lot of those skills that we can use in everyday life. And it comes down to poses, being present in the moment, but also those poses that may be a little more vigorous. You know, if they're really testing our body and we're really getting kind of jacked up, really moving through some physical, obstacles, then we can kind of translate those. Okay, how am I focusing on the moment? Where's my mind? How am I controlling my breathing? And in turn, making us more present to make those healthier decisions with nutrition, to help us be more connected with our body when we're exercising, but then also holistically. And this is right up, you know, what I do. And then also kind of in Dr. Otto's holistic practice, it brings it all together. So then it's not just on the yoga mat, it's all the time that we're thinking about how we're regulating our breathing and how we're being present in the moment and really listening to our bodies.
Let me ask you this, and this could be a question for either one of you ladies. We have been trying to do 10-minute yoga in the evening before we go to bed, and my 10-year-old son has been jumping in with my wife and I. I've read some articles that that's not enough, but then I've read other articles that says you're doing something, it's better than nothing. So we'll start with Dr. Otto. Is 10 minutes enough to do yoga, to do that, you know, mindful breathing and just kind of a whole self-check? Is that enough, or should we be doing more in the evening?
What are we defining as enough? What's our goal here? So I 100% believe that across the board, something's always better than nothing. If we're trying to achieve a specific outcome, you know, in this case, you know, reducing stress in a measurable way for the study that you read, then there's probably going to be some rules around what is that technically enough. But just because you can't commit to 60 minutes a day of practicing anything, or you can't eat perfectly, doesn't mean that you shouldn't do the best you can in that direction, because health and disease is on a spectrum. So the more effort you put in, the more benefits you're going to get, generally speaking. And that's meaningful. All those pennies you put in a piggy bank add up to fill up the piggy bank, right? So don't discount those smaller efforts.
Nazzy, I'm not sure how you determined where did you get the information on the yoga that you're going to be practicing? And Ali, same kind of question. How are you connecting with your clients now in this COVID environment? I mean, are you still having individual sessions, or how are you able to communicate with your clients about how they can participate in yoga?
I'm not doing anything in person with clients right now. It's really more of giving families tools to do exactly, Nazzy, what your family's doing. And I think it's adorable that, that your family is doing that in the evening. So giving the families the tools, because, you know, we're really in unprecedented times, and so many kids, also families, are feeding off each other's energy. And for a lot of folks, you know, home and work are the same place. So you're going to need a place a way to separate those two worlds, and kind of come back to yourself, really kind of dial in as to what we're holding into our bodies, whether it's extra stress, anxiety, frustration, but also continuing to kind of address the 10-minute thing that you mentioned. I would agree with Dr. Otto that, 10 minutes is better than nothing. However, if it's something on your checklist of, I did 10 minutes of yoga, all right, I'm good.
Now I can be bad.
That's not helpful. 10 minutes is better than nothing, but kind of taking the kind of level of mindfulness that you achieve during that 10 minutes and being able to apply it to different areas of your life is wonderful. Also, it's giving you that family time after a long day, which speaks volumes and creates more peace in the household. But also, as well, if you're doing it 10 minutes, that's a great setup for bedtime, being able to really be in a relaxed state. So if you go watch like 2 hours of murder mysteries after that, probably not the best. But if it's
like she knows me, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Also, Nazzy, I know myself. So if it's taking the place of that, if that's what's ending your day, it's helping you dial down the technology, you know, the blue lights, the things that are keeping our brains activated when we're trying to get a restful night's sleep, then that's excellent. But yoga should never be just like healthy eating should be like, I ate a salad. Great. I can eat whatever I want for the rest of the day. It's really building. And like Dr. Otto said, it's not, you know, all in. You have to just make small, steady steps, and really think about why you're doing it. If it's to say and feel good about that 10 minutes, that's good. But how can we extend it beyond there? And how can we set ourselves up to be successful even after that yoga session's over?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
And Nazzy, so where did you pick up information? What are you following or doing? And then I want to hear Ali what she's recommending. Where do people go or what?
Look, well, so you know, we get the 10-minute yoga videos on YouTube, but I mean, I get my information like everybody else that has factual information these days. I find it on social media. What's wrong with that? Right? Everything on social media is true, right?
I hope not.
No, I try and read different studies, and I always do look for their source to see if it comes from a reputable, medical facility or a reputable doctor or a reputable source. And I also, that's why I've read different articles pro and different articles con, because I like to base my own opinion. And just like both of you ladies said, we're doing it, and it is bringing the family closer together. What we do in our living room, because the table is set up in the living room where my son is doing his remote learning, we put that table away. We clear out room in the middle of the floor, and that's the transition. We know that the work day is done. Now it's time to focus on ourselves. It's time for family time. And that's a very, very important transition that we have. And then, you know what? I'll tell you, it does make falling asleep a lot easier for my son, because like I said, my son is 10 and he's at that age where if he doesn't empty the tank before bed, he's up 50 times. So, hey, I need a drink. Hey, I got to go to the bathroom. Hey, what about this? What about that? And I really feel that when we do the yoga and we do the breathing, it really does empty the tank for him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And that makes sense after a long day of remote learning too. Like looking at, kids nowadays, even adults, all of us are on the computer and on technology so much more than ever. And with kids, it's especially hard to kind of turn it off. And so having that devoted time where it's creating a clear boundary. Okay, the workday is over. Now it's time to decompress. It's time to unplug literally from all of those things. That's a great transition into having a restful night's sleep so he can, fill up his tank completely for the next day again.
That's really what it is. And we've been watching what he eats too. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Otto.
I was just going to say, we can't totally unplug because we need YouTube for the videos.
That's very true.
So Dr. Otto, back to heart health for a minute. I had a couple of questions. So plaque is what are the things that we ingest that are the worst things that create plaque? And second, is there any natural diet that we can have that would be then reducing plaque?
Well, the good news is that usually the things that are worst for you come in a package of all the worst things usually come together. And all the best things often come together too. That's the good news. The bad news is that the answer beyond that is pretty boring. So the things that are going to be the worst for you are going to be your packaged, processed, high sugar, high refined carbohydrate foods, as well as unhealthy fats. I don't want to dismiss the importance of having a healthy ratio of fats, but I think that gets a little bit almost too much attention nowadays. I have a lot of patients who come into my office who are kind of aware of, okay, I got to be careful about the fats that I eat, but they don't realize that all the white pasta that they're eating, that the bagel with cream cheese that they have every morning for breakfast, that those are foods that are actually causing their LDL, their bad cholesterol to go up. That's actually kind of inflaming the vessel walls and contributing to that, plaque formation that we understand to be unhealthy. On the opposite side, the foods that are going to actually not only prevent plaque buildup, but also reverse it are going to be foods that are high in phytonutrients or micronutrients, which are most densely found in vegetables, fruits, beans, seeds, legumes, your traditional whole unprocessed plant foods, which also tend to be highest in fiber. So you get a secondary benefit from that. So the fruits and vegetables push has not died down.
Okay, very good.
All right, so we're just about out of time. Before we go, I'd like to give you both an opportunity to talk about your practice and your yoga studio. So Dr. Otto, please tell us how we can find you and what we will find when we do find you.
So we are, as I mentioned before, I forgot to update the bio. We moved to 7 Broadway Street. So or Broadway, no, there's no street after it. Used to be Ballard's Ice Cream. And so we have symbolically replaced the ice cream shop with a super natural, healthy life living business. But that's where you can find me. Our website again is naturalmedicinenh.com. And my goal is to help people live their best lives in the most natural way possible, which doesn't mean that we're anti-medicine or, anti conventional screenings and testings and medications, but that we're trying to integrate that with lifestyle medicine and really provide an alternative when people are most interested in getting to the root cause and thinking, why is my body misbehaving? What can I do to live with less pain, with more energy, with fewer medications and fewer surgeries down the road?
That's what we all need. Ali, what about you? Tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
So Karma Kids, it can be in home, it can be out of home, more out of home nowadays. But, exactly like we said at the beginning, it's kids, families, it's teachers, it's classrooms, really putting the emphasis on moving our body and mindfulness and intentional breathing to help guide us in day-to-day, in day-to-day life. And the whole point being, the sooner you teach it, the more benefit it can have to the students for the long term. If that becomes a way a student and a child is thinking, and they are given the opportunity and the tools to really regulate their emotions, put a name to what they're feeling, and find ways that work for them to find calm and move forward with a more, with a more peaceful mindset. It's teaching kids those skills because it's important to regulate their emotions and touch into their feelings, just as important as it is to be learning curriculum and being a part of the school environment. But those two need to work together now more than ever. And the students I work with, every day it's a new conversation about, okay, let's not talk about your curriculum. Let's not talk about your workflow right now. Let's talk about you. What are you doing to make sure that you are keeping in touch with yourself, honoring your own needs, and creating boundaries for yourself to keep your mental, physical, emotional wellness in check. And so it's teaching kids that, it's teaching teachers how to do that with their students, and it's teaching families how to do that as well.
Excellent.
And so
Excellent.
you can find us at karmakidsnh@gmail.com or karmakidsnh online or 568-2763. So
There it is. Greg, and in the last 30 seconds, please tell us about the
30 seconds. Well, I wanted more than that, but I'm going to go for it. Today, a shout out, a community connection of the co-op is we are Palladium sponsors for the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness Soup Fest that is coming up. That's March 20 at White Park. 8 restaurants are preparing their best soups. And so you just go online to concordhomeless.org, buy your soups, schedule a time to pick them up. You got great, great restaurants. You have O's, the Co-op, Barley House. All the names are there. There's a ton of, the 8 restaurants are there. Great, great soups. I would encourage everybody to go to concordhomeless.org and support the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. I'm Nazzy for the Pulse of New Hampshire, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you all. Bye now.